All right, so let's get started. What I'd like to do today is to just share some of my favorite best practices as far as collaboration in Google's G Suite with everybody. And if there are questions that you want to ask, I'll leave time at the end to ask questions. So, if you have something pressing as we're going forward and you really want an answer right now, feel free to call and chime in. I'm just going to kind of be laid back about this. So let's talk about, first of all, I'd like to do a poll with everybody here. And I'm going to pull up a poll. And you should see a poll now launch on your screen, and you can take a look. And I've asked you two questions here.
I'm sorry I cannot fill out the second question because I've never used it, so I can't. I think that to submit the poll, I have to pick a choice for question 2.
Oh, do you? Okay, well, just that's
I'm
good.
going to pick a random one, but it's just
pick a random
wrong.
one. That's great. Okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
If other people are in the same boat, go ahead and choose one that has less votes so that they don't feel bad. We don't want the Google app to feel like it's left out. Okay, so this is just about a minute in, and there's about 4 people now. And that's the nice thing when you do a poll in Google is it shows you, in Zoom, it shows you how much time has elapsed for the person who's doing the poll, and also how many people have actually voted. And I see that 2 people have not voted yet. And I'll end the poll in just about 5 seconds to give those people a chance to vote if they haven't yet. Okay, great. And I'm going to end the poll. And now once you ended the poll, then you can choose whether to relaunch the poll or to share the results. So you can't see the results right now, but if I hit the share results on my page, now everyone can take a look and they can see. So have you used your William & Mary Google G Suite account? So 38% of the people here have used their William & Mary G Suite account. And I think, again, I would urge you, if you haven't used the G Suite account, to think about using that account. And I'll show you exactly how to do that today. So 33% have not. 14% say I'm not sure. And that's not surprising because unless you are actively using that account and you know that you're using it, you may not know what account you're going in with. And I totally understand that. And now these 6 people are the people who I want to talk to. They are using their Google account not associated with William & Mary, and it's not the same thing because I'm going to show you in the next step. One of the key things about collaborating with students is being able to share things really easily and quickly with them. And if you don't have an actual William & Mary G Suite account, that becomes more difficult. So let's take a look. And so most people have used Google Docs. And after that, Google Drive is a sort of a third, a little bit more than a third have used. So great, we're gonna really sort of dig into things today. And I'm just gonna stop this. All right, so let's start out with Google Docs. So from the people who have used Google Docs, if you'd like to chime in, I'd love to hear how people are using Google Docs collaboratively, if they are. If they're not, that's fine. We can talk about that afterwards. But if people are using Google Docs collaboratively, how are you doing that?
I am writing with other authors. This is not in the college, but I am writing with other authors a textbook, and everybody is in different states. So it's a whole humongous document.
Right.
But it's incredible. Like everybody can leave comments and you can edit or you can give suggestions and yeah, it's amazing.
Does anybody use it in real time to have students just kind of brainstorm? Oh, Mateo, you do.
Yes. Hi. Hello, everyone.
I'll learn how to do that.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. We're going to play a little game right now. I'm going to talk to you about the permissions in just a little bit, but right now I've created this document that you see here. What question do you most need answered as you prepare for teaching in the fall? And I've created this document and I'm going to share it. Now, I created the permissions on this document as such that anybody can edit it right now. So I'm going to hit share. And now you notice what I've got here. William and Mary, anyone in this group with the link can edit. So this is why having your William and Mary account associated with your Google Suite, one of the reasons why it's so nice, because now I can just choose anyone at William and Mary will be able to edit this. And then I can send this out to my students as I'm going to send it to you. And if you're logged into your G Suite account with William and Mary, you will now have editing privileges over this. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this link, and we're going to find out who has their G Suite account and who's now going to have problems with permission.
What are we supposed to do? I am lost.
Don't worry. I'm gonna show you. I'm copying the link, and I'm going to share it with you in the chat. So does everyone see that chat that I've shared with you?
Yep.
Okay, go to that chat, and that's going to take you to this page. And go ahead and start answering the question as a big group, and we can watch and see how things are progressing. So now we're all working on this at the same time, and if you notice, you can see who's writing what, who's on what line. And if you look up at the top here, you can see all of the different people who are working on it, and I can click on one of them, and I can follow that person as they're writing. Or I can I can contact them. I can send them a message. So if I wanted to send Barbette a message right now, I could do that. So the people who can't add things, what you can do is you can comment as people are adding things. So what I did with this document is I made adding available to everyone at William and Mary, but I made commenting available to people all over the internet. So how do you comment on a document? So
okay,
if you...
sorry, Mike, in my case, it says you need access, and I requested access, but
that's because you're logged in with a non-William and Mary account. Anyone who needs access, that's the error message that they're going to get. And that's a very important error message for you to keep in mind if you're going to use Google Suite. So for right now, I'm not going to give you access because I would have to give every single person who doesn't have a William and Mary G Suite account access. Instead, you can be one of the people who comment on it.
Okay.
And to comment on it, you just visit the page. Let me go ahead, and now I'm going to make it available to everybody. So now that William and Mary people have had a chance to comment on it, what I can do, and you know what, I'm just going to open it up to everybody, not just to comment, but to edit, because I'll show you how to do that now. And then Afer, you'll see that you can actually start adding. So let's say I want to share this with the world. I'll hit share. And now instead of William and Mary, anyone in the group with this link can edit, I'm going to change that. And I'm going to pull down here, and I'm going to say anyone with the link. And instead of saying editor, I'm going to say or commenter. And I'm going to click done. And now I think everybody at William and Mary has now lost their ability to edit this page. So maybe you can try that. But everyone can now comment on the page. And now to comment on the page is very easy. I hover over some content. You see where I have respond to here. And I'm going to click add comment. And now I've added a comment. Okay, and let's say I'll add this is good. And I'll comment on it like that, right? So that's all well and good. That's great. But if you are in the William and Mary domain, what I can do, and this is really wonderful, I can select this content, I can click on comment, And if I know the student's name, I can say at B begins, click on that, and I can assign that to that student. And now I can give that person some text. I can give them a question. And I can click assign. And then it will send that assignment. Not only is it a note here, but it assigns it to that student. And that student will get an email that will tell them that they've gotten an assignment there. So play around with this for a little bit more. And if there are questions now about this, I'm happy to answer it. But this is such an incredibly powerful collaborative tool. And look at how many of us are working on this thing, right? And imagine what you can do. You can put this in a breakout room. And then you can tell one student, hey, create a Google Doc. And go ahead and with your little group, share it out the same way that I did. So you'll create a Google Doc. You'll copy that link. You'll make sure that you're sharing to everybody. And then you'll share that to everybody. We can try that out now if you'd like. I can put everybody into breakout rooms and we can have one person in each breakout room create a Google Doc. It's a little scary, right? But do you think you can do it? If you think you can do it, do the thumbs up and we'll give it a try. If not, we'll just go on doing what we're doing. Everyone seems really frightened of that. So we're not going to do that. Oh, no, I'm getting some thumbs up. Okay, we're going to do that, and I'm going to come around to the rooms, and we're going to make sure that this works. But I want to give everyone a chance to do this. So like you're actually going to do some writing collaboratively and commenting collaboratively. So I'm going to split us up right now into, let's see, how many groups should I split us up into? Let's make it 5 to 6 participants per group. That sounds great. So I'm going to send all of you to the breakout rooms, and I'll come and visit the rooms and see if people know what it is that they're doing, and I'm going to help people get to where it is. Mark Lerman has a question. You look confused. Oh, no? Okay, good. Okay, everyone, I'm going to send you to breakout rooms now. Hey, folks.
Yeah.
So do we have a volunteer to create a Google Doc? You guys are afraid to create a Google Doc? I'll create a Google Doc for you.
So, Mike, can I ask you a question while you're doing this?
Yeah, absolutely.
So in the sample one that you sent out to the whole group before we went to breakout rooms,
Yes.
It has all these sort of, I don't know, avatars, I guess, that like sort of random animals.
Right.
I'm assuming those are people who don't have a
Exactly.
registered account, and it's just like I show up as a, I don't know, blobfish, whatever this is,
Right.
because I'm not using a William Mary G Suite account. Is that, whereas I don't know, someone else who had, Abigail Buffington, was a registered person, so that's why it shows up that way. Is that
right? Exactly. That's exactly right. So just in case that there are some people who don't have their Google account right here, I'm going to go ahead and just make this available to everybody, and I'm going to share it with you right in here. So hopefully you got that Google Doc to mess around with. Are you able to see that?
I can see it, although I can't. I can only edit, or sorry, I can only comment on something someone else types, right?
No. Now the one that I sent to you just now in the chat, you should have availability to comment on, to write.
I don't think I can write anything into this.
Oh,
Unless
really?
I'm wrong.
Okay, let me see. Let me make sure. It says anyone can edit. Let me just send it one more time. So give that a try.
Doesn't work for me.
Well, I see people have now started to join.
Yep. So
Okay, so some people are writing.
No.
Okay, so Matt can type. Is Matt the anonymous dingo? Okay, I'll let
Maybe.
people practice a little bit. Try to go ahead and like add links, add images, whatever you want to do, kind of just practice a little bit and mess around with it. I'm going to go see if anyone in the other rooms are having trouble, and then I'm going to join everyone back together in just a minute or two. Okay, let me.
Could I ask a favor from everyone in my breakout room? Could
Okay, let's see here.
Computer by default is taking you to your own. Right.
Okay.
So did
Kind of
any,
like,
hey, did people
welcome
figure out
and-
how to create a
yeah,
excellent.
well, we're just having a problem with Tomoko. She's not able to even get here. I got here by following the link that you shared right at the beginning,
Okay,
which was this.
right.
Tomoko has done the same thing, but never gets allowed into the G Suite. I thought that she may have to log out her own personal
She
Gmail
probably has to
account.
log out of her own personal account. What I like to do is I like to go to an incognito window in Chrome,
All right.
and then I'll do that. So to go to an incognito window in Chrome, I'll show you how to do that very quickly.
Why don't I stop sharing so you
Oh,
can...
I can do that.
Okay.
Okay, so to get to an incognito window in Chrome, you just go to any Chrome window and you go to File and then New Incognito window. And let me share. You're not seeing it, so let me share that screen with you. And share. So now if you notice, I've got this incognito window. If I go up to File, Share, and then Incognito window, and then if you go to google.com or I like to go to docs.google.com. And then it gives you a fresh new thing. And then all you need to do is you put in your txcato@wm.edu, and it'll take you right there to your Google Drive.
Okay, I will try.
Yeah, so if you put in your whole email address right here. Yeah, so go ahead and give that a try. I'm going to go visit some of the other groups. If that doesn't work, just play around with the other stuff, and I'll be calling everyone together in just a couple of minutes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi there. I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if this meeting was still happening. This
Hey,
morning.
Patty, how you doing?
Yes, same here. I just joined as well.
Hey, Ken.
Mike.
Hey, Pablo, how you doing?
You see, I didn't even shave. I got up and I said, "Oh my goodness, the meeting has been canceled." And then I realized I better try. So forgive my appearance.
Same.
Okay, I'm going to call everyone back from the breakout rooms. Let me send everyone a message to let them know. And I'm going to close all the rooms. And now they've got about 30 seconds before they are all going to join back in. I see Monica Seeger has joined. I feel like one of those old TV shows that I used to watch when I was a kid. And there's Monica, and there's Patty, and there's Nikki, like pretending like you see people on the screen, like the Magic Garden or something. Okay, I'm going to continue sharing my screen with folks. Oh, I guess first I have to find the right screen to share. Okay, just give me a sec. All right, so how did things work generally? Were things hectic, crazy? Did people not get things started? Did groups get like a leader or something like that?
We were having some problems with the permissions issue. We eventually figured out how to get it so people could edit the document, but that was an extra step that we didn't quite understand at first.
Good, okay. Other problems that people had?
I have a question about if you have a class that's, like if you use it for the whole class, it's say 30 or 35 students, how do you keep track of all that information coming in at one time? I can sort of see it working for smaller groups, but I'm just trying to figure out how you would manage that much collaboration in, 45 minutes. I'm just not totally sure I can.
That's why I did what I did, Ali.
Okay.
That's why I showed you how hectic it was at the beginning. Okay. And then we broke into smaller groups. Yeah, but thanks for reading my shill there.
Hey, Mike, we in my group we had one issue with request access. So it's not about, we are able to solve questions of like permissions for commenting and viewing and editing. But we stumbled upon the request access, one of us.
Yep.
Any tips?
I have lots of tips. Here's my main tip, and this is the main reason why I sent everyone in to figure all this stuff out. Test your stuff out before you send students in to do this stuff and make sure that all the permissions are correct. There are lots of good tips. So what I'm going to do now, we're going to go through and show you exactly how permissions work, because that's the critical part. Understanding permissions is not trivial, and knowing what your documents are going to do and whether you're going to decide to do these things. If you found this powerful, if you find something like this, something that you want to do, we're going to talk about permissions and exactly how to accomplish those things. But that's a great question, and that's definitely a problem that you're going to have as you do these things. And they're just natural problems, and to get students used to them, the more you do it, the easier it's going to be and the less problems that they're going to have. And they're going to be, oh, that's that problem. And then they're going to figure out a way around it. But yeah, other groups, did you have success? Did you have issues?
Mike, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So when you sent the link to the document, that popped me into my lskolo@email.wm.edu account.
And that's the funny thing is, it doesn't have to. It'll go wherever you want to go. And that's what I want to show you the next. So what I'm going to do is I want to show you what happens when you actually log into your account. And what I suggest is I'm going to share my whole screen with you instead of just this screen. Let me go ahead and share my whole screen so that I can show you what happens when I open up an incognito window. So this is how I love going into all of my applications when I'm just starting a class or anything like that. I like to go into an incognito window so I know who I'm logging in as. So to do that, if you can all see my screen here, you see where it says File up here in Chrome. If I go to File, I'll say New Incognito Window, and I'll open that up. And now I get this cool black interface, and now I can actually go ahead and put in my credentials for my G Suite account. So I'll put in, if I want to go to Docs, I'll go to docs.google.com. Right? And now I'll hit Enter. And I'll get this screen. Now this is a very important screen because now you're going to decide what account you're going to log in with. If you don't get this screen, then you're not sure that you're logging in with the account that you want to log in. So I'm going to log in with my mxblum at email.wm.edu because I have a special G Suite account that I got early on in the process. if you want to just go in, if you haven't gotten your email.wm.edu account, you can actually try to log in with your @wm.edu account, and you probably have an account. But now what happens when I do this is I'll log into Next, and it'll take me to, check it out, the William & Mary authentication page, right? So now I'm logging in at my William & Mary authentication page, and let me do that. And this is the William & Mary login. And I can't stress to you enough how crucial this step is to tell you, to make sure that you're in the right area. I'll click Call Me. And now I'm going to accept the call. And now I'm logged into my Google account. And the way I know I'm logged into my Google account is I've got this W&M Google account right here at the top right. If I don't see that, I can see if I can log into that account. It might be another Google account that I have. I'll click on this icon that says W&M here. And now I have all of these other options, including adding another account, okay? Or I can sign out and I can join my William & Mary account here. So now I know that I'm in the right place for my William & Mary account. And that's how I know if I wanted to create, now let's say I wanted to do exactly what we did before. I wanted to create a document that all of my students could access and write in. I'd click on blank. I'd create a prompt. And then I would set the permissions. So I would click on Share up here at the top right. I'd save the file, and now I'd choose. By default, it's restricted. Only people who I add to this can do that. So that's a good thing to do if I just wanted my class to have access to it. But then you'd have to add them individually, and you could do that by doing a CSV dump from your Blackboard site into here. You could do that. If you want to do that, we can talk about that at a later date. But now what I can do is I can just change the link to William & Mary. So now anyone at William & Mary has access, but now I have to choose what access they have, and I want them to be able to edit, right? And when I click Done, first I can copy that link, and now when I click Done, I'm ready. So now what I do is I'm going to send this to my students, and to send it to your students, you just click on your Zoom link. You go to the chat window. And you paste that right in there. And then the students access it, and now only those students who have access through their William & Mary login are going to be able to access it at all. And the kind of access they're going to have is to be able to write. So super powerful. Barbette, yeah.
Does edit access give people comment access too?
Yes, edit access includes comment access.
Okay, but comment access does not include edit access, just to be clear.
That's correct. Now there are other nice things that I like to use in Google Docs, and I'll show you those right now. One of the great collaborative tools is, you see up here at the top where it says editing mode, top right, I can pull down and I can do suggesting mode. And now what I do is I can actually create kind of a prompt in here that will be sent to the person who wrote it, and they can click yes, and they'll accept my suggestion. So that's a really nice editing tool that's built into Docs, as well as the commenting tool. So there are two of those that you can actually use to great effect. All right. Other questions?
Can you do the same thing with images?
Yes, absolutely. You can do the same thing with images, but what I suggest with images, and thank you for that, you're also my shill today. I'm going to go ahead and I'm only going to share this screen with you. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to share again. And now you're only seeing my presentation. But now let me take you to my Google Slides. So this is my Google Slides. right? And I'm going to hit escape here to take me back to my editing window. I would share images in Google Slides because you have those same sharing possibilities. If you notice, I'll click share to my Google slide. Anyone on the internet can view. I can change that. I can say anyone at William and Mary can comment, which is a really nice thing to do. Done. And now, if I gave you permission, you could actually comment on this particular document on my slides. So then what you would do is I'd create a new slide. Let me go ahead and create one, just a blank slide in my presentation. And I could insert an image here. Insert image. I'll upload it from the computer. Let's see. It's always dangerous to try to find an image. So let's see what that is. Oh, that's a cute image of me in front of something. Okay, so I'll open that. So here's a goofy picture of me in front of a green screen. So I'll do that. And now that anyone can comment on, or you could edit it, or you can move it, whatever you want it to do. So if you're doing a collaborative presentation, it's very easy to do that. So what I'll do is I'm actually, you know what? I'm deciding whether or not I like this presentation and if I let you guys mess it up. I'm gonna let everyone mess up this presentation. So instead, I'm gonna change it from commenter to editor. Done. And I'm gonna grab the link. And the same thing, I can share this document with everyone. I'll put this in the chat. And now I've sent you the ability to come in and edit this document. And you can come in and you can edit my presentation, my Google slide. I could comment on it. If I right click on it, on an image, for example, I can do comment, and I can do the same thing. And I can comment. And let's say I wanted a particular person to fix this image. So Barbette, I would like you to fix this image. I will assign it to Barbette, and I'll click assign. And now she needs access to the file. She only has comment access, so I'm going to give her edit access, and I'll say, add the comment. So there you go.
Can I ask you a question, Mike?
Yeah, how cool is this, though? This is
super.
Pretty cool.
Is there a way to revert back? Because it looks to be like the document is being saved simultaneously.
Yes.
Sorry, you understand my question, so I'm going to shut up.
Yes, absolutely. So if you go to document and you go to version history, then you can see the version history. And it tells you everything that's happened to this document. And I can bounce back and I can restore this version whenever I like.
And this doesn't have sort of a timing. So it's not something that I need to do within 5 hours or 5 days. The history will remain there. So if the week after class, I remember the student had added a comment that wasn't correct, I can go back and sort of revert to the version prior to the student. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. But thank you for that question. I sometimes forget to mention that, but that's, and look at this. We see who has actually edited the current version. All their names appear. Pretty nice.
We can assume that all of our students know how to do all this stuff?
No.
Or do we have to build it into class to help, like how much of that should be built into the class for using these tools?
So here's what I like to do. I like to give everyone kind of a pre-class exercise to do the kinds of things that they're going to be asked to do in the class for the actual class content. So you want to build a class skills part into it before you do a class content using those skills. And it doesn't have to be a big deal. You might say, here's what I'm going to do. We're creating, and here's my pitch. You want this to be controlled. And you're exactly right. So what I do is I create a folder for my class in my drive, right? So I go to my drive, drive.google.com. I'm gonna go to, and it comes automatically with your Google Suite, drive.google.com. And this is the other reason I think that you really ought to consider, if you don't have a William and Mary Google Suite account, you should definitely get one. First of all, it comes with unlimited storage, which is nice, but otherwise, you know, it really gives you nice hooks into the class and into the students. So I'm going to click on New, and I'm going to go to Folder. I want a new folder, and the folder is going to be the class. So I'm going to call this English 202. I think that was the last English class I ever taught, like 12, 13, 14 years ago. All right, so English 202. And so now that's my folder. Now I can decide on the permissions of this folder, right? So I'll click on it, and you notice I have the breadcrumbs up here. So I can jump from my drive to my English 202. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull down English 202 and look at all these options that I have, zillions of options. One of them is that share option. So I'm going to go ahead and hit share. And right now, it's only people who have access. But let's say I want all my students to have access to this folder, and I don't want to bother adding everyone, and I don't care who else sees this folder. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to change the link to William and Mary, and now everyone can see this folder, right? So I'll hit done. So now think about that. What's happening here? Every one of my students can see this folder. So anything I put in this folder, the students are going to be able to see. Perfect. Now, before I go any further, why don't I put this link in my Blackboard site? That would be a really nice thing to do so that I don't have to remember where it is, so that the students don't have to remember where it is. So let's do that. I have this English 202 folder. I'm going to pull down here. I'm going to say get shareable link, and I'm going to go right to my Blackboard site. I'm going to copy the link. I'm going to go to our Blackboard site for the course. Is this making sense to everybody so far? Good. Okay, so now I'm in that blended learning class, right? And I want to put it in resources so that my students know where to find it, right? I could create another page for it. I could, you know what? Let me create another page for it. I'm going to create a new content area. And you know what? We're going to call this English 202. And I'm going to make that available to users. And I'll hit submit. And there it is at the bottom, English 202. I'll click on it. And here's where I'm going to build content. And what am I going to do? I could do anything I want, but I'm going to make it super easy for myself. I'm going to hit web link. I'll click on web link. I'll call this Google Drive course folder. I'll hit paste that in there. And that's all I need to do. I'm going to hit submit. And when I click on that, I may have, yeah, okay, that should work. And there we go. It takes me right to that English 202 folder. And if you go to the Blackboard site right now, if any of you happen to be there, you could also go over to that English 202 folder right now, and you could jump right to this English 202. And now I've got a folder for the course where I can do those things like create a Google Doc here for every student, create a Google Slides here for every student, create a Google Sheet, create a Google site for a website. The website tool is excellent, right? So that's how I would suggest it. But now what happens? The students only have access to view this area, right? So now here's the trick. I can give those students access to write into this area, or I can really not lock things down and say, I only want my students to use this to submit assignments to me. And I want to give each student their own folder to share, right? So I'll create a new folder. And you know, you could have your students do this, but I'm going to do this for the just ease of use. I'm going to call this, I'm going to use you for an example, Bella, sorry. I can name that after her, and I can hit create. And now that folder exists, right? But now everyone can see this folder inside this other folder, but I don't want that. Or maybe I do want that, but what I can do is now she can view it And now I can change the share permissions, go into share. And now I can add her to this. And there are easier ways to do this. I'm just doing this so that you can see what's possible. And we have videos showing you how to do that. And she has 2 accounts and I'm not sure which one to add it to. So I'm going to add both. It'll just make it easier. And I'm going to make sure she's an editor in this so that she can add files to it. And then I'll click send, share anyway. So one of those was not appropriate. So you saw how it said share anyway. And I said, go ahead, share anyway. So now I could do this for each of my students, or what can I do? Instead of only having view access for this top level folder, I can share this and I can give everyone write access. So I'm going to change this. That's why I say understanding permissions is very important. It'll save you a lot of time. And I'll click done. Now everyone in this class and everyone at William & Mary has access to this English 202 folder. So your assignment, your first assignment, so that students know how to do things, could be, I would like you to go to this folder, create a folder for yourself, and put in a Word document that shows me that you know how to do this. Anything that you're going to be using in your course, right? So now it becomes easy for you. Now it's not, I got to create a folder for every single one of these students. Now is, I create a folder, I give everyone access, I give students the ability to write into that folder, and then they can create a Google Doc, they can create a Google Sheet, they can create a Google Slide, and you can create groups so that different students can access these folders, or so that only one student can access the folder. So think very hard about how you'd like your course structured if you're going to use sort of the Google Suite and the Google Folder option. It's really powerful, and it's really wonderful in all of the options that it gives you, but understanding permissions is going to be really critical. Let me go back to the page because I have a couple of other things that I wanted to show you. First of all, everyone has access to this. So I just want to point out to you that I have a YouTube video here that shows you how easy it is to create a Google site and then to collaborate on that Google site. And I've got everything that you saw here is going to be this video here in Google Drive. So I can just actually just copy that. And I'm going to paste it into the chat window so that everyone has that. Because I'm sure people are going to want to try to do that when they finish today. So this will take you through most of the steps that I showed you as far as creating a Google Drive for student submissions. The one thing it may not show you is how I added that Google Drive course folder to the Blackboard site, but I think most people know how to do that. If you don't know how to do that, you know, contact me. We can figure out a way to get that working for you if that's something that's interesting to you. We have about 10 minutes left. I could show you other things, or I could open it up to questions, which I think that's what I'll do. Matteo has raised his hand virtually, so I'm going to call on him. And that's another thing. You can, I see other people have their hands raised as well. So who had their hand raised first? Mark, I think you did. Mark, why don't you go?
Okay, 2 things. One, why did you do the incognito thing? Like I just bookmarked my tab to get to my G Suite.
That's good. If it always goes to your G Suite, you do you. If you have a problem,
there's no advantage to incognito.
The reason I'm doing incognito, I'm sorry that I should have pointed that out a little bit more strenuously. The only reason you ever need incognito mode is if you have multiple Google accounts and you want to make sure you're going into the right one.
Okay.
Because lots of people have multiple Google accounts. If you only have one and you never have a problem and you always see that W and M thing at the top,
yep,
like that W and M thing right there, then you're good.
Okay, and last question, then I'll let others.
Yeah.
Should I be able to see English 202 folder now on my G Suite? Did you make that? Did you share that?
Oh, so that's another cool thing. So what you can do, you should be able to go to the Blackboard site and click on that English 202, and then click on the Google Drive course folder, and you should be able to get to it from there. And then that's the other nice thing. Once you've got that, what you can do is you can add it to your Google folder. So if you pull down, I can't because it's already in my Google folders, but if you pull down, then one of the options is add to my Google Drive. but I have add a shortcut to Drive here instead of add to Google Drive. And adding to Google Drive is nice because if I click on my Drive folder and see where all my stuff is, if I hadn't added that folder to the Google Drive, I would have to search for it every time. But now it's going to appear in my list of Google Drive down here below.
Okay.
That's a great question, though. Thanks. Paul, I think you had your hand up first before.
Yeah, I had one just specific question about what you just said there, and then I had two sort of more global questions. The specific one is when someone, let's say when you share a link, you know, you put a link in the chat and then we click on it and open it, if we then go away and then come back the next day, let's say if it's a Google Doc, will that be in my Google Docs, or will I have to do what you just did and say like, keep that in my Google Docs, or do I just have to remember the link or bookmark the link?
I would bookmark the link because you're not really gonna have that link, or you can paste the link like I did into the Blackboard site so that it's always there.
Okay.
And that's a nice thing
so
to
in
do.
other words, just that document though just doesn't show up as a new thing in my
not in the
Google
chat.
Doc.
Not in the
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, not in the Zoom chat, no.
Okay. And then the two sort of global questions I had, one was about logging in and making sure you're logging into the G Suite. So I was confused earlier. So I logged into it, but then it still prompted me to log in again when I clicked your link. I think it's because I started the day in Firefox. And so did it not know that? So when I clicked your chat link from Firefox, it prompted me to log in. So should I just start in Chrome? Is that the thing I need to do?
I mean, my personal preferences are to only open Firefox in case of extreme emergency.
Okay.
So I always start in Chrome. I always use Chrome for everything. If Chrome doesn't work, I'm on a Mac, I go to Safari. Firefox is my browser of last resort.
Okay. Because it just didn't register at all. Is that?
Because you've got your computer set up to open new documents probably in Chrome, but you were in Firefox, and Firefox isn't.
Oh, I gotcha.
Isn't sharing those
I gotcha.
credentials.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not sharing back and forth between browsers.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Then just last big global question is just privacy, ownership. Does Google get to own or see all this stuff I'm putting in there that my students are putting in there? What do I tell them about their ability to protect themselves from whomever might be looking at all this?
I wouldn't put anything that's incredibly, sensitive on there because it's not as secure as Box. But the collaborative advantages are so tremendous. I would not put anything that is for a grade on that just to be FERPA compliant. You can comment on things and you can give feedback and give all of the formative feedback that you want, but just don't give any cumulative feedback. Any grade.
Okay, that's great. Thanks.
Yeah. I can't keep track of who was next, so I'm just going to call on Barbette. Barbette's on mute.
I was wondering how dangerous it is to leave everything as write permissions for all of William and Mary. Are you anticipating any problems with somebody deciding they're going to play around with somebody else's stuff?
So what I do is I make it write permission until all of my students have created their folders, and then I change the permission to view.
Mm.
And then I explain to the students, and then we can just check and see, and if I have to explain to the students how to change permissions of their individual folders, then I do that. And then they each are responsible for changing the permissions on their individual folders. But I open it up, I let people do what they need, I close it down, and then we're all in that same pool, and I haven't had to add every student.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could, it's not hard to add every student, but it means going to your grade center, downloading the CSV file, and then, figuring out how to massage that into Google Suite. I mean, I don't like doing it, but I do it when I have to.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, Paulina.
I realized that there are some things that you can delete from Google, from the Drive, and others that I can't. How is that?
If you've created an item, you can delete it. If you have not created an item, if you're not the owner, so like
But for example, I was able to delete what we did in our with Monica Seeger, what we did in our little breakout room.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to delete that one.
Well, now when you say delete, I don't know what you mean by delete. Do you mean delete
like
a file or delete content inside a file?
I click into the document.
Do you mean like, oh, so in the document, you mean delete things in the document?
Well, I click in the document and because I want to clean up, and I was able to delete that one, put it in the trash can. But other ones, let me see if I can delete your, I don't know if I can delete your thing, like.
Now, are you talking about deleting a file, or are you talking about deleting? Why don't you share your screen?
For example, yes, this. Let me share my screen. This thing that you just sent us. I cannot share my screen.
We can talk about it later.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Rich, you had your hand up for a while.
Yeah, this is sort of following up on what Paul had asked. We had a number of difficulties in our chat room group on sharing. I was in the William Mary G Suite on Chrome, and when I clicked on links in the chat, it took me to my Google, my Gmail Google Suite. And
in what browser?
Again, in Chrome. Same. And if I open an Incognito, would that have taken care of that? Would that have precedent over the other open tabs I have, or?
Yeah, what I would do is I would just copy it and paste it into an Incognito window if that was happening to me.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I would suggest. Okay, so let's see. Matteo, how about you?
Hello, thank you, Mike. Let me lower my hand. Mine is actually a question that is a follow-up on Babette's question. Once I have shared something with my students, like a folder for a course, is there a way to revoke any permissions once the semester is over?
Yes, you just go ahead and you change those permissions, and you remove permissions from, you could remove any level of permission you want. So if you only want students to be viewers, they can be viewers. If you want to revoke permission and only retain permission to yourself, you can do that as well.
Okay, so I can not have them see the folder anymore.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks.
Yeah. And that's very simple. That's just another click.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Let's see, Afer, yeah.
Yeah. So how do we make sure that students are actually signed up using their William & Mary accounts, or is that going to be the case by default?
Well, you're going to have to let them know that they need to sign in with their William & Mary account. And yeah, I believe that's in my video that shows you how to set up the Google folders, is what they'll need to do to make sure that they're signed into their William & Mary account. And if they're not, then you just say that, and that's always my first question. As soon as somebody says, I can't see something, I'm teaching you half of my job here. If somebody says, I can't see something, the first thing I say is, what browser are you using? Well, first thing I say, try turning it off and on again. That works. Second thing I say is, what browser are you using? And make sure that you're using Chrome. And the third thing is I say, check and see who you're logged in as at the top right. So if you can do all three of those things in Google Suite and still have problems, then it's a serious problem. Then it's going to answer 99.9% of all problems. Turn it off and on again, use Chrome, go to the top right, make sure you're logged in with your William & Mary username and password. Got it?
Yeah, I guess so. But can you actually, if you find out that you are not signed in using your William & Mary account?
Yeah, you can just switch it. You switch it right there. So I'll show you. I'll show you what that looks like.
I think I understand that part. So as long as.
Okay, so I'll just go on to the next question. Kathy.
Can you do everything with PowerPoint that you can with Google Docs, or is it?
So when you say PowerPoint, you mean Google Slides?
No, if you create a PowerPoint separately, can you incorporate it in any way, either into your Zoom in the same way you do the Google? Can you go by way of Google Docs?
If you're not, if you're just doing a presentation and you're not collaborating with anybody and you just want to do a PowerPoint, yeah, just go ahead and open up your PowerPoint.
Students? What if you're having students create PowerPoints?
Are they sharing it with each other?
Potentially, yes, or with me.
Are they editing it?
I would want editing privileges, perhaps.
You're going to want to use Google Slides.
Okay.
I mean, we're here to talk about the Google Suite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't suggest.
You're paid by Google. Yeah.
I'm not, but I don't suggest you use PowerPoint for that. It's like, if you're doing PowerPoint, PowerPoint has its place. It's great. If I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation and I don't need to share it with anybody else, I sometimes use PowerPoint. But
yeah, it's a little bit more elegant, I find. But
PowerPoint?
No matter. Yeah.
Okay, that's personal preference. I'm not going to get into an argument about that. Yeah, Laurie.
I realize this may be an idiotic question to ask when in a class on Google Suites, but I am not a Google fan. Is there a way to avoid Chrome? I use Firefox. I actually like it.
Go for it.
So what kind of problems might one encounter if one doesn't use Chrome?
You will encounter problems, and I'm not going to try to go into the myriad problems that you're going to have. I'll just tell you that when you have problems in Firefox, give Chrome a try.
Okay.
Use Firefox as much as you want. I'm not going to tell you not to. Use Firefox. You're comfortable with Firefox, use Firefox. And same thing with you, Kathy. You're comfortable with PowerPoint, use PowerPoint. You know, but when you have problems, the only solution is going to be to go to Google Chrome. That's
Fair
just
enough.
the way they do it. Yeah. Other questions? Let's see. Are those old questions, Afer and Kathy, or do you have new questions? They have old questions. Okay, so other questions? Well, I'm cognizant of the time, so thanks everyone for participating. You have access to that file, but we'll probably be able to, as long as you signed up for this, we'll be sending you out information to follow up with with that original Google Slides slideshow. And yeah, you can always contact us at STLI at wm.edu with any questions that you have, and I'll stay on for a little while if people have questions that they want to ask, like individually. Okay, so thanks everyone. I really appreciate you taking all of this effort and time to totally revamp your classes and make sure that it's the best experience for the students.
Mike, I have a username question.
Yeah.
So I have an at email.wm.edu address from back in the day when I took a class and needed a student email account. And I found that Banner, for example, defaults, or it used to default to the email.wm.edu account, which meant that students, when they click the little button, it sent it to email at wm.edu. And I'd really rather not have two G Suite accounts. Can I get rid of that email.wm.edu?
You can. Write to support at wm.edu and tell them that you want those two accounts combined and that you want your wm.edu to be the only one.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And they should be able to combine that. Yeah, absolutely.
And then there's no reason I can't just use the lskolo at wm.edu one for the G Suite.
No, you will be able to. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then one other question related to usernames. Sometimes when I get a share link from someone out, I guess it must be outside William and Mary, but they send it to my William and Mary account, I have to enter a password and it doesn't take me to the William and Mary login page. And then I have a separate Gmail password associated with my William and Mary G Suite account that I have.
When they combine it, it should fix it.
Oh, okay, great.
It'll fix it when they combine it.
Thank you, Mike.
Sure. Other questions?
Contact help@wm.edu to do that.
I would say support@wm.edu. I'm not sure where help@wm.edu goes these days. Right, Patty?
They both land in the same place.
They both. That's what I figured. But I'm used to writing to support.
I agree.
I love your umbrellas, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Mike?
Yeah, Ifra.
So I just learned how to copy the chat and save it for later. Can we do the same with the list of participants? Can we get a copy of that?
So that you have a list of participants?
Yes.
We could probably figure out how to share that with everybody, yeah. Shoot me an email just to remind me.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, can I ask a quick follow-up on the question Lori had there?
Yeah.
So just to make sure I understood what you just said about the @email.wm versus just @wm. So when I'm logged in to the G Suite, I see that I am in as @email.wm.edu, but that's not an email address where I get email. I think I thought I understood it that I had to just request that so that I could get a G Suite account like the students.
Right. Well, what you probably want to make sure is that that email.wm.edu account is being forwarded to your wm.edu account. Patty, do you have that information on how they do that?
I can verify that. So Paul, you have an account. You do have.
I just sent an email to that address and it didn't work.
So let me check your account, Paul. I'm wondering, when we cut everything over to give everybody access to G Suite in March, if we didn't provision email and calendar accounts. So there are a lot of people on campus that have access to the G Suite tools without having access to an actual Gmail account. I know that's a little bit confusing. So we've provisioned the tools, but we stayed away from provisioning calendar and email. So Paul, let me check your account and see where that lands.
I mean, okay.
Yeah, I think what's happening is that you do
that before all the COVID stuff anyways.
I think you just need to have
how I was supposed to do it.
Yeah, I think you just need to have that the email.wm.edu forwarded to wm.edu. The reason that I would suggest that is just because when students contact you, that's where that's going. So if you do a lot of sharing, and if students are doing the @PaulManna, then it's going to go to that email.wm.edu account. So you just want to make sure it filters in there. And Patty's, I'm guessing that's correct, right?
That is, I'm not clear which account you want. Which is your primary account? You're @wm.edu.
The one I want to check email in is @wm.
Okay, so we have to go into your Gmail account and set the forward from Gmail to @wm. That is something that we can provide instructions for.
So should he just write to support@wm.edu and ask for those instructions? Paul, why don't you do that? That's probably the best way to do it. Just write to support@wm.edu and let them know that you would like information on how to forward your email.wm.edu email to your wm.edu account.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I found that there was an issue with that in the past, which meant that I didn't get a whole bunch of student emails. And just from this point forward, my goal would be to not have students sharing things with me at 2 different email addresses.
So Larry, that's why you combining it is perfect for you.
Right? Yeah. Okay. And then that'll get rid of the email chunk, right? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I could ask for that.
You could, you could ask for that. So. Yeah, then ask for that as well. Yeah, yeah.
Thanks, Lori.
Mike, what we're leaning towards.
Thank you.
Oh, Patty probably has some preferences that they have.
Well, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding it correctly when those requests start to come through. So what we're saying is you don't want that Gmail account. So you don't want to be associated at all with that @email.wm.edu account.
Right.
That is very easy to fix. Okay.
Yeah, as long as I can just log into G Suite with my @wm.edu,
And there are probably going to be a lot more faculty members who are going to want that now that that's going to be a fix for people. That's a great question and a great point that, there's for a lot of faculty members, there's no practical reason why you want that email.wm.edu account. Yeah.
Now, Mike, do you find that that's a little bit confusing with sharing? So I've had a lot of people say that when they go to share a file, even if I don't have an @email account, you still have to share it with pdherr@email.wm.edu.
Right, as long that is the only confusing part, that people are still going to have to deal with. Like, what does the account actually go to? For students, it's always easy because it's always going to be at email.wm.edu. And that's mainly what faculty members are going to be concerned about. And for faculty members that I know might have a wm.edu account, I always send them to both.
Okay.
Because I know that there have been these problems in the past. So I make sure that, you know.
Well, can I, just to clarify, because when I've used G Suite stuff in the past, I've just had students share with me at lskolo@wm.edu. The email.wm.edu thing never came into play. It only came into play today, Mike, when you shared that account and that web page, and it somehow defaulted to that account. So that when I clicked on that, it didn't give me the option to choose my other account. It just took me to the login page and I logged in. So can we just entirely get rid of the email.wm.edu thing in general so that students never even have the need or option to share with email.wm.edu? Or are they going to have to do that?
They're going to have the ability to type in whatever email address they want. So what you're going to say to the students is, when you're sharing with me, you share to lscolo@wm.edu. Do not share to lscolo@email.wm.edu. And you just make sure that they understand that.
Okay.
But you can't just eliminate it. It's always an option.
Because you can put in any email address into that thing where you know, it doesnn't even have to be, I mean, it could be an address that you don't even own. I could put in, you know, cox.net. I could put in, you know, whatever the hell I want. .com.
It's a slightly different issue.
But when IT sort of combines, or whatever the proper word is, when you send me that link next time and I click on it, it's going to go to .wm.edu, correct?
Let's give it a shot. If it doesn't, then come back and we'll fight it out.
Okay. So, Patricia, when I send the email to support@wm.edu, what language should I say? Can I say, I want to get rid of my email.wm.edu account?
Absolutely, that's what you're saying. So I no longer want to have a Gmail account. They'll know what that means.
And if you can write it in Latin, it's more impressive.
So we'll be able to handle that on So there's a couple of things. I do want to answer one question about why we can't make it completely go away. Our domain name with Google is @email.wm.edu. So that is something that in the future maybe will change or we revisit, but as of right, that would be a large decision to make. So as of right now, we can't make that completely go away.
Thanks for that clarification, Patty. Other questions? Well, everyone's been super awesome. And it's been recorded, and this is all going to help other people who have similar questions. As fun as this was, we're going to have to call it quits. But thanks, everyone. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks, Mike.
Stay well. Bye.